Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Chaos Zero Nightmare video. This is Mr. Squirrel. As always, glad to have you here. So, wanted to talk a little bit about summoning. Um, One of the things that this game is functioning very similar to is like a Hoyoverse game. And I've played Hoyoverse games for a while now, especially HSR. I played that one for a good minute, about a couple of years. And so this game has a very similar system. You got the 300 summon. You've got, your limited summons versus your, the normal rescue versus the limited rescue, or the rate up rescue system, the limited. And by the sounds of it, what's going to end up happening here is that non-limited, non-seasonal characters and non-collaboration characters are going to go straight into the general pity after they're done. So if you're looking for specific characters, it doesn't mean it's going to be very easy to find them. I don't know what that means, if that's going to be right here, the rescue merit, if they'll go onto that. I mean, I doubt that that's going to happen. I figured they're probably just going to keep these 10, and then if you're lucky, you'll pull them. If not, whatever. What that does mean, though, and I want to talk a little about summoning plans moving forward. And something to consider moving forward is that, limited, seasonal and collaboration based characters. So if they ever did like a collab with, I don't know, Devil May Cry, and, you got Dante in game, and that would actually make sense to a certain extent. What would that mean for this game, right? Or what would that mean for the banner? That character would not go into the general pity because it's a limited character or collab character, right? The other systems to think about is that how would this impact, what about limited or seasonal characters? What do they mean by seasonal characters? There might be maybe an anniversary. They might have like a limited character in the anniversary that you can only get in certain points in time. And I want to just kind of convey this information. Yeah, we don't really know what that means moving forward. Now, seasonal, they could, it could be just like anniversary characters could be very different. Who knows? Or they could be the same and they just do the same exact thing. I don't know. Now, HSR just released their first collab character, which was like 3 to 4 years into the game. And like, for instance, where is Haru going to go after this? Haru is going to go into the general pool after this. Now, general pool being that you can pull her off rate, but this is your best shot at getting Haru right now. So if you really like Haru, like the anchor shot playstyle, then now it's the time to get her, right? One of the things I do want to emphasize, though, is that this game is going to be very challenging to get. The summons seem that they're going to be, you're going to get them at a decent rate, but I don't imagine you're going to be able to pull every single 5-star that comes out. And I think that's okay. Right? Like, companies need to also make money on these things. But what does that mean for you now? Like, what are my general thoughts on summoning in this game? Based on, like, I made that video about, like, meta doesn't really matter, right? And I'm still going to kind of hold true to that. Now, we have yet to see. I mean, in the future, could there be very, very super crazy meta characters? Probably. I mean, that's how these gacha games kind of work, right? Like, power creep is a very real thing. I hope they don't do it too crazily, and that it's just a gradual increase, right? Like last thing I want is, like, in 6 months, all the characters I'm playing right now are like there's new character, like there's a new Hugo character that comes out that just does double his damage, right? That would not be fun. And so my hope is that it's a steady increase, and that you just essentially play the characters that are going to be like under your play style that you enjoy. Like, oh, if there's another character that synergizes really well with Hugo besides Tressa, then maybe I'll summon for that character, right? Because we want a couple teams in this game, probably 1 to 2 to maybe at some point 3 teams. But that is why I'm making this video, is so what are my summoning plans moving forward? Well, I want to talk about one character right now that I think is really important, and that's going to be Mika. Now, Mika currently is one of our only ways to get AP increases in this game. And I think this is going to be we're going to see power creep in this area. This is where I think they'll start going with supports, is that how can supports give more AP, right? AP is action points is an incredibly important thing. For me personally, I have a lot of damage dealers on this account. I am more concerned with tanks and then AP generators. So I actually lost my 50-50 to Haru, because I was like, you know what, I'll do a little bit, and I ended up not getting Haru and I got, I think, Meilin. And I was like, you know what? I can live with that. And I was like, I'm done summoning. I don't want to accidentally get Haru now because I have enough damage dealers. I don't need anything else in this account. But that comes back to saying, okay, so what is Squirrel saving up for now? Squirrel is saving up for, I'm talking myself in the third person, saving up for characters that can generate AP. I'm looking for supports. Maybe there's an attacker who's a support who can do AP generation. I'm looking for AP generators because the more I'm looking at these teams, I'm like, oh, I really want to run Luke and Lucas, right? I think that'd be a really fun team. Problem is Mika's already on and they need Mika. Like that team needs Mika. But Mika's already with Tressa and Hugo, who have a ton of dupes and are very good. So then I'm like, what do I do now, right? And that comes back to saying, so what am I saving for? What do I think people should really be on the lookout for? And one of the things that in Honkai Star Rail that is incredibly important to understand is that damage dealers lose. So like if I think of, let's do Hugo. I like Hugo. Hugo's a good character to talk about. The base characters will eventually get power crept. It is inevitable. They're going to, like, if we think of him as, what's a good character? Dr. Ratio. Kind of similar inside, like, throwing out the follow-up attacker. He's very similar in that style to Dr. Ratio, but there's eventually going to be a character that will power creep him. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen for a while, but there are going to be new supports that come out that will actually work with him. And imagine they created an AP generator that is also attacking and does AP generation while attacking or something that synergizes incredibly well with him. That's something that I'm really interested in, right? Like I am looking for characters that are now going to be AP generators. And I think that's what everyone else should start thinking about too, is that we don't have a lot of AP generators. This puts extra emphasis on Mika because she is one of the few characters that can do it. She can also heal, right? She doesn't do a lot of damage, but I don't need her to do damage because I already have 2 damage dealers. I want AP and healing, which she does very, very well. I'm curious to see what they're going to, I would imagine maybe the next one will probably be a tank APer plus like increases AP gives as also a tank. Maybe it's a damage dealer. Who knows what it is? But the moral of the story here is what I personally, so if I go back to this and I'm looking at these limited banners, I am also very cautious because, I don't know how often. Now, if you remember in Epic 7, they do release every now and then, they have like a lot of collab characters. They did some things with like K-pop artists and other things. And they didn't do it that often, but it's enough that it's like, and remember, this is the same devs that make Epic 7. So I'm just very cautious because like the last thing I want is a limited character and it's like this amazing AP generator. And then it's just like, oh, I don't have enough summons for it. So that's why I'm like, yeah, Haru was really cool. But for me personally, now again, I know I made a video that's not like meta, be careful of tier lists, all that jazz. But here's the thing with this game. What I do know is AP is incredibly important. And I do know that supports that generate AP are going to be very valuable. And supports themselves are very hard to power creep. Just because if you have an AP generating support, like Mika's going to be around for a very long time. She fulfills 2 roles. Healing and AP generation. 2 things that this game heavily needs. Meaning she's going to hold significant value for a very, very, very long time. Granted, she's also a 4-star, which means that they could release a 5-star version of her. It means I can have 2 teams that need AP generators and healers. Maybe they'll make an AP generator and a shielder. That would be amazing, right? And then you have like Calipe having an amazing teammate for that. But my point is, I really want to kind of tell people, I think you should be, conservative with your summons. Remember, it takes a lot to the pities are around 90. So then I think it's around 90. 70. Sorry. Yeah, it's 70. But at the same time, it takes a lot to get these summons. So especially these limited summons, I'm not using these. Like I'm using these very sparingly and I'm making sure I save up. I'm waiting to hit that 300 and then seeing kind of where my teams are going. I'll talk a little bit about who I'm looking for later, along with more guide videos as time goes on. Right now, it's hard to want to make a guide video at this given moment because we don't really know what we're looking like. This is all fine and dandy early game. I might make an early game team guide on a team I'm working on right now, or that's getting me through the game pretty well. But I also want to make kind of like a summoning guide video. This is what this is right now. This is a summoning guide. So my personal recommendation for everyone moving forward is, if you want to try to get every character, I don't ever recommend doing that. Because also one of the things we'll talk about this in another video, but I'm going to mention it here, is that in this game, some characters dupes are absolutely insane. And I want to highlight. Let's come back to Ugo. Okay, so I actually got a dupe of Hugo. I pulled him within 10 summons when I was doing rerolls, and then I did my beginner banner, and I pulled another dupe, and I was like, oh my god, do I even want to keep this account? And it's because at dupe 2, once you get, or 3 copies of him, 2 dupes, every 2 times commence the hunt is activated, deal 40% times 2 extra damage to random enemies. If the same target is attacked, gain commence the hunt, the effect activates once per turn. He gets essentially like a third commence the hunt, right? So this is pretty nuts, right? Like he becomes like a follow-up demon at this point. And so, another character that we want to look at is Mika. Mika, Manifest Ego 6 Mika. I have her Manifest Ego 3 because I'm not going to keep summoning on that banner. She essentially starts out with 2 waves. When she gets 3 waves, she gets an extra AP. All I'm saying, y'all, is that her 6th dupe is insanely broken. Now, granted, her first dupe is really important. Second dupe is very important. Dupes are incredibly important in this game, and I really want to emphasize people. If you get dupes, it's not a bad thing. But when we come back to the summoning system here, I'm just going to kind of in the video talk through this as I'm going, is that dupes aren't bad, and part of me is a little hesitant because it's like if I find the playstyle that I really like, I want to make that playstyle as strong as possible. So part of me also wants to, the more duped out a character becomes, the more future viable they are. Like in Honkai Star Rail, I remember people were always complaining about Firefly falling off. It's like, well, if you have an E2 Firefly, E2 means 2 dupes of her. Some characters are still insanely viable, like long time away, like because you dupe them out. And if you really like that playstyle, then I would recommend just holding on to it and then going deep for this character whose playstyle you really, really enjoy. Because then it might make them meta viable for a very long time. Some characters dupes might really do that to them, and then they are more viable long term. Who knows? All this has come back to say is I want to build on that previous video and say I would save for the characters that you find enjoyable, and then summon on when you get. I would not gems. Okay, so this is the last note I want to make. Gems exclusively should be saved for these limited banners. You should not be ever using gems on the normal rescue. Ever. You should not be using gems on this. You're using gems on this, you are literally throwing them down the drain because, again, there's the 300 pity. So you can pull the character you're looking for at 300. You will get these as you can, you go through the story. You get the normal summon banners. It might take a little bit to get there, but you will really regret not having summons for the limited characters because this is your chance to actually have them on rate up. Or, the character that you really enjoy, that you want to get, the style of play. It only further enhances the style of play that you want to kind of have. And if you can't summon for them, then you're really kind of, shooting yourself in the foot. So my general recommendation is hoard your gems or your crystals. Every game is different. Hoard your crystals. Save your signal amplification anchors because you want to save these for characters whose playstyles you enjoy, especially this character's super crazy. This character's very meta. Yeah, Haru is very meta, but I don't really like playing her. I think she's really a fun character to play. But the style of play is not really my thing. I like follow-up attacks, lots of attacks, dots, or a paladin-based play style. It doesn't really fall into that kind of style that I enjoy. So I'm going to hold off. Or a lot of minions. I like lots of minions too. But so I'm going to save for characters like that. And again, it comes back to this point. Save for what is fun, but also what might be also enhancing your own teams that you're playing right now. Because you don't want this really crazy support. And then also the third point is AP generators. Those are the 3 things that I'm really kind of guiding my thought process right now and especially the first part of this whole video, AP generators. You need I would almost say AP generators are mandatory at this point. And that it's really important that you save for these AP generators. That's what I'm going to tell you. Okay, I hope this video helps. And as always, remember, failing is just your first attempt at learning.